Hi, I'm Mana Moini, and you're listening to the HUMANATY Podcast. Hey guys, thank you for being here. I'm your host, Mana Moini. Today's topic is the power of resilience. Resilience gives us the strength to bounce back from challenges in our lives. We've all faced hardships. Joining me for this conversation is Barr. She's the co-founder and CEO of Raise the Barr. She started the organization with her son, Anthony. Raise the Barr aims to provide opportunities to single parents and their children through higher education. We're going to talk to Lori about her journey and the power of resilience. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi, Lori. Thank you for being here today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. So one of the things I've been thinking about a ton is my childhood. And I try to understand why I am the way I am today. And I know with your organization, you guys focus on single parents and the next generation, the children. Mm-hmm. Is there a memory in your childhood that you think helped shape who you are today?
Oh my gosh, what a great question. I would say I had a really idyllic childhood. I'm one of 6 kids, right in the middle of the 6. So the house was just chaotic, full of activity, a lot of family time. We didn't have a lot, but we had each other. And I think that, just that experience of the family unit, being there for one another, breaking bread. Every night we sat down and had, dinner together no matter what was going on. Also going to church together. While I'm not, a person who proselytizes or pushes my faith or religion on anybody, I do really feel like getting up and going to church as a family on Sunday mornings was so instrumental in just kind of shaping our family, shaping me, teaching me, just about being a good person, a good human, be kind to others. That's really what kind of stands out when I think about my childhood, is just my time with my family.
Was there ever a point where you had to start, understanding resilience and building resilience in your life?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely did. I wouldn't say that was something I was conscientious of as a child or even, as a young adult. I don't think I realized that things were happening and I had to be able to, kind of take those in and figure out a path forward until I became a mom. So it was then, I think, that I, discovered that I had something in me that created this kind of energy to go forward, to bounce back from something that was unplanned, something that was unexpected. And that really was kind of the springboard to, just creating a different life than maybe the path I was on at the time.
Right. Resilience is one of those things that we don't realize we're building, but it's through the difficulties in our life and having to turn that into strength.
Absolutely. You don't realize, at the time, especially when you're young, you're receiving, you're taking in all of these experiences, good, bad, whatever they are, right? And it really isn't until later that you reflect back and you think, how was I able to do that? How was I able to recover from whatever that experience was? Or, whatever it was. And it is resilience. It's that ability to kind of just, keep eyes forward. And something I say to my kids all the time is, God put eyes in the front of your head for a reason. Look forward, reflect back, but look forward. And to me, that's resilience.
I love that. What's your favorite part about being a parent?
Oh my gosh, there's so many things. There's so many things. Really just, oh my gosh, Mana, bringing a life into the world is just overwhelming. It's so incredibly it's just such an experience of joy, of love, and being able to watch that human being from this tiny little, baby that is 100% dependent on you to live, and then watch them over the years just become whatever, their true self is. Watch them grow, learn, discover, the curiosity. All of that is just, I don't really think there are words. It's just the experience of being on that journey of life with a person that you created.
Right, that's beautiful. What inspired you to start Raise the Bar?
Truly it was the experience of becoming a young single mom and having to kind of figure out what my life was going to look like when it was, I had this experience that I wasn't ready for, I wasn't planning. And that really shaped and inspired the work. I do this in partnership with my son, Anthony. He really was the inspiration behind the charitable effort, the giving, right? We had this idea, but it was in seeing him be so generous with his time, with his resources, so passionate about pursuing his dreams that, I thought, this is something that I think we can build together, and we can give to those who have experienced the same things that we've experienced, which is parenting on your own. You feel it's really hard. It's really isolating. And we wanted to create a community where folks felt like they belonged, like somebody got them. And if we could provide a little support along the way of, through their journey, that was the whole goal. And it's become something that I don't think we've ever imagined it would be.
When you talk about that journey of single parenthood, or any journey, and any of us have that present difficulties, what role did being kind to yourself and forgiveness play in your journey? And maybe that you try to teach others now through Raise the Bar.
I think I only have the luxury of time between when I became mom at 19 to now to really understand what kindness and forgiveness, what role that played in my journey. Because when you're in it, it's really hard to kind of sit back and think about how you're experiencing life, because it feels like there's such a sense of urgency. Like everything has to be done right now, and I'm the only one who is here to do it. And I don't have a lot of time to sit back and, think about how I got here, or the mistakes I'm making, or, how I could be doing something different or better. It's just go all the time. And so I think it's not until, in recent years, now that my kids are grown and I have a little bit more, distance between then and now, that I can think, gosh, I wish I would have been more kind to myself. I wish I would have given myself space to fail and to be okay with that failure, because I felt like this, at the time, I felt like I've just got to get this stuff done, and I've got to do it right, because I've got these, at first, Anthony, but then Nicholas came along. I've got these 2 kids depending on me, and I've got to get this right. And a lot of the times I remember like brushing things like under the rug or keeping things secret. And I'm not talking about anything devastating. I'm just talking about flaws, like the challenges and the ugliness of life. I didn't want them. I wanted to protect them. And so now looking back, I wish that maybe I would have been more kind to myself. I would have shown them, look, this didn't work out, but it's okay. You're going to face challenges like this in life, And it's kind of how you treat yourself through that kindness, through that love, through that forgiveness, that creates kind of an open path, for you to move forward.
I think something you said around presenting ourselves as perfect, not wanting to show our flaws, is something we can all relate to. And it's not until time has passed or we realize that it's not a big deal, or it wasn't that big of a deal, but it's always in hindsight. And so I can totally relate to that of, presenting a certain image or wanting to pretend like we have it all together, whether you're a single parent or not, right? I think we all struggle with that.
Right. And you asked the question, how does, that kindness and forgiveness, like how are we bringing that to the families and the single parents we're working with now, right? And helping them to kind of use that lens, through which they view, their experience as a single parent. And I remember I met with this group of single moms early on when we started doing the work here in the Twin Cities. It was probably 2016 or 2017. And we're having this great conversation. It was mostly centered around how do you co-parent? And that wasn't my experience because I didn't really co-parent. I was the parent. And so we, the conversation shifted and kind of went in different directions. And it wound up in a place where we were talking about how our kids viewed us and the guilt that we carry as single parents, because we were having to navigate all these choices of like, do I do this and take time away from my kid, or do I just settle for this so I can have more time with my kid? For example, should I go back to school? And if I go back to school, that means that I'm going to have to sacrifice my time with my kid, miss some birthdays, things like that. Or should I just stick with this part-time job that's getting us by and it allows me to at least be with my child, right? And I said to them when we were talking about this, I said, it's going to be okay. I'm going to tell you now that I'm on this side of parenting. Everything that you do, your child is watching, but they get it. They may not be able to say it now, like, mommy or daddy, it's okay. I love you. I appreciate what you're doing. I see how hard you're working, but you are creating a blueprint, and they're going to be okay when you get 10 years down the road. As long as you pour all the love that you have into them, it will be okay. Be kind to yourself. And so, and I haven't thought about that in years, but I remember that conversation. And it was almost like everybody took a big sigh of relief. And while my journey is different than others, I was standing there kind of as like, they could see themselves in me and say, okay, well, if she's saying it was okay and her kids have turned out, as she's saying, pretty okay, I'm going to trust that. And I'm going to try to be kinder to myself.
Absolutely. There is a level of comfort in hearing it's going to be okay from someone who's been through an experience. There's no doubt. Especially someone like yourself who's started an organization in an area that they're, relating to. So I think that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. I know part of the mission statement is equal opportunity for all. What does that mean to you with respect to what you guys are doing at Raise the Bar?
Right. So creating increasing opportunity and economic mobility through higher education. So when people think about spaces, higher education, I mean, we have kind of an idea of what that looks like. College is for a particular demographic, an age range, 18 to 22, 23, right? You're going to these, this academic campus. It's very kind of, there's things that are just kind of institutionalized, and it's, just the space for this particular demographic to go study, prep for what they're going to do when they become a full independent adult, right? And it's kind of this rite of passage almost. But about 22% of college students are actually parents, and about 11% of those are single parents. Wow. And so you think about as a single parent, what are you doing when you are stepping on a campus to potentially earn a degree that's going to, give you better opportunity, lead to better earnings for you and your family? Well, you're going there, but there's not really a space for you. There's not. I mean, it's moving in that direction, but in our mind, it's creating a space for you to feel comfortable, to feel like you're valued, to feel like you belong. And that's really simple. It's a really simple thing where you could potentially take down a sign that's in the counseling building that says like a big X, no children allowed, right? Or quiet space only. But you're the single mom and you're bringing this baby along because you've got to get to your academic advising and you don't have a babysitter. So what do? You're always navigating these choices and they don't seem like fair choices. So if we really are focused on an equity agenda, society-wide, higher education within our communities, you have to look at what the needs are for everybody. And so we operate off of this idea of the curb cut effect. The curb cut effect, do you know what that is?
I don't.
So when you walk down to a corner and you see that there's like a little divot in the curb, so somebody who needs wheelchair accessibility or somebody with a stroller can easily navigate that move, right? So when that was first created, it was to make accessible to a small segment of the population. But the ripple effect is that it made it easier for everybody. Folks who were on a bike could easily just get up onto the sidewalk with their bike. A person, pushing a stroller or a shopping cart could, easily navigate that. But that wasn't what it was intentionally intended for. It was just intended for a small population. So that's the way we see it as well. If you can create a family-friendly space on your campus, if you could create a policy that impacts this small segment, it is most likely going to have a ripple effect and improve everybody, not just that small segment.
I love that. What is, all of that said, what is your favorite part about what you get to do at Raise the Bar? And feel free to share maybe a story that's been a success story that really has touched your heart.
I mean, the best part for me is the relationship that's created. And that, I'm an empath. I have a big heart. I like to get to know people. I like to know their stories, their experiences. I like to create space for really relationships to build. And so when we started Raise the Bar, it was like, I just want to get to know you, and how can we support you on your journey to, higher education. And all of that, like those early relationships, those early scholars, I mean, they're just, those experiences were so meaningful because it was so personal. And that's the beauty of, starting something just so small. You don't have really anybody but yourself. And it's just you and I sitting together saying, how can we do this together, right? And now we've grown to a place where I don't have as much of that, as much as an opportunity to really be in relationship with each scholar, because we're growing exponentially, and I miss that. But that really is the best part of the work, is the relationship. I mean, there are so many stories that, I think about all the time that keep me going, that inspire me. Stories from, scholars who, were sadly and unfortunately involved in, human trafficking. Wow. And came to us saying, listen, I'm okay with tuition, but what I need is emergency funding because I really need to get this tattoo branding removed, because it is a constant reminder of the experience of, that horrific traumatic experience. Is that something that you would support? I mean, and that's a no-brainer to be able to create human dignity, to help somebody become whole again because they're looking at themselves and their children. It's a constant reminder of, with that marking on their body. If we can partner with them to create something that's more beautiful, more whole, 100% there. To everything from having a scholar who, is getting ready to transfer from community college to a 4-year university, transferring from a 4-year university into a grad school program, now in a PhD program, discovering nanoparticles that are kind of sweep away toxins in toxic groundwater, and how that groundwater is, in a community, where they haven't had clean groundwater in years. And she's a part of creating, a healthier environment for her community, people who look like her, who have life experiences like her, right? To see that whole trajectory and to know, like, Raise the Bar was a little part of that journey. For 3 years, she was a scholar. We got to know her. We got to watch her son grow and thrive. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's humbling because, the single parents who are part of our program are already doing the work. They're already in the grind, and they don't feel, I've been there where it's like, is there ever going to be like a little break? Is there ever going to be, where's that light at the end of the tunnel? It feels like I'm never going to finish this. And they experience that too. And to say, you know what, we got you. We got you. We'll cover tuition this semester. You just focus on school and being the best parent you can be. And that is such a relief.
I have been to some of your events and have met some of these scholars, and it's truly amazing. Everything that they juggle and everything that they do and their passion to want to keep going. It's really, really inspiring. What is your outlook for Raise the Bar? What's the 5-year outlook? I know you guys are currently working on housing, so maybe talk a little bit about that.
So, what we try to do is we really try to include the scholars in decision making and what our programming is going to look like. Because while Raise the Bar is inspired by my experience with Anthony, that was 30 years ago. And while we, pay attention to data and research, I want to know right now, what is the biggest need? How can we support you now? We have to be nimble, we have to be flexible and grow with our scholars, not guide them and say, this is what you need. They know best. And so what we're hearing is really, it's 2 areas in particular. It's being able to cover rent payments so a scholar and their child can have stable housing, and covering basic needs. So utilities, heat, water, electric, food on the table, just the basic needs so they have a safe place to raise or to rest their head, raise their kid, have food to eat so they can sustain themselves. And so we heard that, and we've entered into the space where we are really focused on stabilizing housing, stabilizing basic needs, and so what that looks like in programming is we are getting into the space of building affordable housing. And so imagine that as campus housing, right? If you're living on a campus in a dorm, you get to have that space with your pals, right? And every year you've got to move. So we're creating a version of that where scholars who meet our criteria, you're parenting on your own, you are the primary care provider financially and emotionally for a minor dependent under 18. You're enrolled in at least 9 units in a program within our counties where we serve. Then you can apply to live in this affordable housing unit for the duration of your degree. So you don't have to move after a year. You don't have to move after 2. If it's taking you 3 or 4 years to complete your degree, you can stay where you are to complete your degree. And just having a space for you and your child to, I am okay. And it's affordable housing, so it's income-based, right? The space that creates in a person's mind, in their soul, to be able to like get rid of some of that toxic stress of like the worry all the time. We've already seen it. We've piloted this, and we've seen that grades improve, persistence increases, meaning they stay engaged in more in at least the same amount they came in or more units semester over semester. They're transferring at a higher rate. They're completing their degrees at higher rates. And then beyond that, they have more time with their kids. Their kids are doing better in school. The family unit is made whole. All of that is just by creating affordable housing spaces. And that transforms an entire family. That transforms generations. And the way that we scale that and have impact is those families on average stay 3 to 4 years. And then the next group of families comes through. And so over 10 years, well, this project that we have is 18 units. Over 10 years, we're serving over 100 families.
Do you find that in the last couple of years, that need for just basic feelings of okay and kind of basic needs met has gotten even more difficult for families, particularly single parents?
Absolutely. That's what we've seen since COVID. So just the recovery back from COVID, the state of the economy, the cost of living, so inflation across the board, right? We work in Los Angeles and in Minneapolis, and while there's some differences, right, in cost of living, it's all relative. So poverty is poverty. It doesn't matter where you are, it's the same. And it's just gotten harder. The cost to heat your apartment, the cost of gas to be able to get your kid to school or to the babysitter, the cost of food, to buy a gallon of milk or a pack of ground beef. It's just all of those just essentials. I mean, the families that we work with, they're not living in the lap of luxury. It's not, I really feel like there's this misconception about, if you're supporting through financial aid or you're getting some sort of government subsidy, like, you're either spending that however you want and, you have all of these luxury items, or you deserve to live in poverty because this is the state you're in, and so you just have to figure it out, right? And that's not the case. Just the cost to just be able to sustain a household is exorbitant. And so how do we lighten that load a little bit? How do we make it a little bit easier for families who are already doing the work?
What have you learned about yourself throughout starting this organization?
Oh my gosh. Well, we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, just kind of like not being kind and kind of, hiding flaws. I've learned that I am a lot smarter than I give myself credit for. I've learned that it is okay to fail. And I've learned that if you have a dream and it's really, born out of love and something you're passionate about, nothing can stop that dream from becoming a reality. And I would say to anybody, if you think there's something you want to do, don't let anybody tell you no. There's going to be a lot of people saying no, but don't tell yourself no. Don't listen to that noise. Go for it.
Wow. Almost like give yourself permission to fail.
Yes.
But don't tell yourself no.
Yes.
So one of the things I've been asking all the guests that come on, in keeping with the theme of the podcast, which is kindness, is there a story of kindness, whether it's happened to you or that you've witnessed in your life, that really changed your life or made the greatest impact on you?
There is. I have a very dear friend who became a friend of mine at probably one of the darkest times of my life. And it wasn't that long ago. It was about 10 years ago. And, through just very bad choices, being a really dark space, I wound up with, at this time, my son, Anthony, was going into his junior year of college. And Nicholas was going into 4th grade. And I lost my job. I damaged my reputation and my professional relationships. A lot of the people I thought who were my friends kind of turned their back on me. And I didn't really know where to go or what to do. I really felt like this is it. There's nowhere to go from here. And it was all by my own doing. And this dear friend I talk about, I got a phone call one day, and he said he wanted to mentor my son, Anthony. And I thought, who's this guy? Like, what do you want? You know, I was very, very reluctant to trust anybody because of everything that had gone on. Well, long story short, he became Anthony's mentor. But in doing so, he became mine and my very good friend. And he had a nonprofit at the time. And I hadn't been in the nonprofit world. I was in the world of K-12 education. And he said, he's like, I kind of, your son has shared a little bit about what's going on. You don't have to tell me anything. But you know what? Don't worry about it. People mess up. Shit happens. And you are not the sum of, one bad decision. Your life won't be defined by that. There's something better ahead for you. And also, by the way, I could really use some help with my nonprofit. Do you think you would be interested in helping? And I was like, I don't know, because if you're associated with me, people might have something to say about you. They might question your judgment. And he was like, get out of here. I'm not worried about what anybody has to say. I'm good. I got you. And just that, it took a while for me to trust, but just that opportunity to have somebody believe in me who was outside of my 2 kids and my family, right? My close siblings and my parents. Just a random stranger. He didn't know anything about me. And he extended a second chance. He put his reputation on the line. We would go into meetings and I would be like, I don't think I should come with you. I don't want to be in the room. I don't want them wondering or judging you. And every single time he's like, stop. And he would just go in there and say, we're a team. So if you're not taking the team, then I'm walking out the door because she's my partner. And it rebuilt my confidence that he was so kind. He didn't have to be. And I am forever indebted to him. And he remains my good friend now.
Wow. We are not the sum of one bad decision. I love that. And like I've always said, it's in the times where we're at our lowest that we really need that kindness the most. Mm-hmm. So thank you for sharing that vulnerable story.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here today. What you're doing is so inspiring, and I know it's touching so many people's lives. So thank you so much for being here, Lori.
Thank you for having me.
I want to leave the listeners with this. Resilience is something you build over time. Don't be too hard on yourself if you don't bounce back from something right away or as quickly as you thought you would. Give yourself some grace. Make sure to give yourself kindness and forgiveness. Resilience is a work in progress. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the episode. And thank you for being a part of the Humanity community. I hope you have a wonderful day.